Devil's advocates, you hypocritical bastard. Are you trying to tell me right now that Rex Heuermann might actually be the Long Island serial killer? I thought you believed in the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. Yes, I'm talking to myself in the third person because I'm just getting ahead of it. That's what a lot of you are going to say if I point out today's topic, which is where has Rex Heuermann been? Has he been killing across the entire United States? Are there bodies potentially attributed to Rex Heuermann all over the country? Some people believe that Rex Heuermann may be responsible for bodies in the hundreds, and that literally they just stopped counting at about 7 to accuse him of 7 murders in New York. But that spree of killing over decades may be in the hundreds, maybe more, who knows? And so we're going to dive into the details a little bit. Yes, Rex Heuermann has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. But we're a think tank. And as a think tank, we're going to ask questions. What if he actually did do it? Same kind of thing we have to ask in the Idaho 4 case. What if the guy who said he did it actually did? It would be intellectually dishonest to not look at it. So let's look into Rex Heuermann. Where has he been? What other places could he have done killings? Are other law enforcement departments looking into other bodies in other places that may be attributed to Rex Heuermann in the coming years? The devil's in the details. Let's get into it. Now, in preparing this show today, or this episode today, I've got about 6 tabs I want to read, 6 news articles I want to read about Rex Heuermann. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of where has Rex been. It's kind of like an episode of Where's Waldo. By the way, if you are intrigued by the stories that I cover, make sure you like and subscribe right now. The Rex Heuermann case, LISK, is I think the name of the playlist, which is the Long Island serial killer. If you're interested in the LISK case or you've been following it, it's going to get pretty crazy this next year as he comes to trial. By the way, I see things a little bit differently. I'm very, very interested in the disappearance of Shannon Gilbert, which started the whole Gilgo 4 discovery. John Ray's plight to try to bring potential answers out of Peter Hackett, who said that he treated her that night and then later said he didn't treat her that night before she disappeared, whether or not Shannon Gilbert had connections with Rex Heuermann, even though she's not one of the Gilgo 4, 7, whatever. The point being, that story is related to it. And that's what today's topic is all about. Today's topic is all about all the other bodies that may be attributed to Rex Heuermann. And along the lines, the reason why I say this case is so crazy and why it falls into the devil's advocate's purview, even if I say maybe more than likely Rex Heuermann is a serial killer, but did he do them all? And why does that matter? Why should we care if he didn't do them all? Well, because again, I feel like in this country, it's too easy to take the easy route out. You have a killer, supposedly a known killer that everyone agrees in America because of the mainstream media telling you they're a killer before they ever step foot into the courtroom, as again happens in every single high-profile case. Mainstream media already has Rex Heuermann pegged as the killer and tells you all the time, the serial killer, the serial killer. Here's more information about the serial killer. He hasn't even stepped into the courtroom for his official trial, and they've already called him the killer over and over again. So how many cold cases across this country, the country, may be tied to Rex Heuermann because, hey, he's the killer. He's a known serial killer. So any place he's ever been, like Atlantic City, New Jersey, Massapequa, New York, Long Island, New York, Las Vegas, Alaska, South Carolina, all these places, any place he's been, if there's cold cases in the area that look kind of like in any way, shape, or form, it doesn't have to be really good either. We're just going to go ahead and say maybe it's one of his, and we'll tie a bow around it. Is that just sloppy police work? Is it going to be the case? And do people care whether we just wrap up cold cases by saying, well, look, he was in the area, so it's probably one of his. Let's call it good. All right, so we're going to dive into the details. As I bring these up on stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover a lot of news stories, basically tracking where has Rex Heuermann been. We're going to focus on locations he's been and law enforcement activity and ask some questions. What if he really was or is a serial killer, right? What if he really is the things they claim he does? So what would we be looking for? And this is where I'm asking you as a community, if you know anything about, I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to give you some things in this video to think about, some tendencies they say Rex Heuermann has. And if you know anything about Rex Heuermann and you know anything about these tendencies of Rex Heuermann, please consider coming forward so that we can pull the threads on those and see, because I've got theories that I'm not going to share with you entirely today about the bigger picture of Rex Heuermann. There's more going on behind the scenes than just the serial killer story. That's what intrigues me. And I'll bring that out over time. I've already started to share a little bit. Okay, I'm long-winded. Yes, let's get into the stories right away. So this is an article now from Newsday. It's a paywall type of thing. You can see it once or twice before you have to pay, but I paid for it on the channel so that, as harsh reality to say, I paid for it so that you don't have to. Yes, we have to subscribe to some of these paywalls, especially when they have really good information with a lot of good details, because the reporters have done it. And sometimes it's behind paywalls like today. So I'm going to share with you something you can't get necessarily unless you have never looked at it before. Then you get a free look once or twice. Rex Heuermann's neighbors and colleagues described the accused Gilgo Beach killer's conflicting personas. This is from the Newsday article, July 23rd, 2023. I'm just going to hit some highlights of the articles for today's overarching theme: where has Rex Heuermann been? Heuermann grew up in Massapequa Park in the home formerly owned by his father, Theodore, who died in 1975 when Rex was 12. His mother, Dolores Heuermann, 93, lives in upstate Shenandoah. Oh, fuck. See, Falls. When I said the F word, what do I do? Every time I say the F word, I drop the parental advisory. Parental discretion is advised, because I do say F words quite a bit. I'm a swearing son of a bitch. So if you don't like it, don't watch my channel. But if you are okay with it, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that right now, because you're gonna miss stuff if you don't get it done. But get it done now before you forget what you're doing. All right. So here's the thing that's interesting about that, if you've never heard me talk about it. Theodore Heuermann, his father, he raised him in this house. His father bought the house. There's allegations that Rex Heuermann was abused by his father, who was abusive, whether or not that's true or not. And one of the things that's weird is allegedly Rex Heuermann turned his boyhood bedroom into a kill room in his house. How crazy is that? Would that tell you things about his psychology if he took a place where he has been born and raised? And here's an outside picture. By the way, I did walk by this house, boots on the ground, recently in New York in October of last year to film it and kind of talk about the area. So I've been there, and it's interesting how that house looks so much more dilapidated than every house in the neighborhood. It's a very nice little neighborhood, and everything's well kept except for that house, which is kind of a dumper. And the guy is into architecture. Anyways, I'm side tangenting. Let's get back to where he's been, right? And sorry for mispronouncing Shenandoah Falls or however that's pronounced. Property records show Rex Heuermann bought his parents' home in 1994 for $195,000. Records show he owned at least 2 other out-of-state properties, including a condo in Las Vegas. Now, this is going to get interesting. Rex Heuermann actually, as we're going to find out, has owned 2 timeshares in Las Vegas, bought within 1 year of each other. I find that super interesting, and I could tell a story. I could tell a story. I could ask questions, and that's what I'm going to do. Please understand that asking questions is what we do here. It's a think tank kind of situation. There's a big difference between making an allegation, this is what he was doing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it possible this is what he's doing? There's a huge difference between those 2 questions. Here's what he's doing. I'm asking, do you think he might have been doing this? There's a big difference. This is not a clickbait type of channel. We try to show receipts, and I will tell you the difference between when it's just a speculative question or whether it's hard facts. Heuermann graduated at Berner High School. Is that Berner? Yeah, anyways, I probably pronounced that wrong too. High school in Massapequa in 1981, and went to college in New York Institute of Technology at Westbury, where he earned a degree in architecture technology. He started work as an intern at Greer Construction Corporation in Freeport, according to the 1990 announcement of his first marriage to Elizabeth Ryan of North Brunswick, New Jersey. So this whole series of this video today is where has Rex Heuermann been? Massapequa, 1981, high school, all around New York, New Jersey area. So he's East Coast, New York kind of guy. I'm a New York kind of guy. Anyways, in an online video, Heuermann said he started working in Manhattan in 1987. So he worked in downtown Manhattan when he was arrested for the crimes of the Long Island serial killer murders. He described himself as an architectural consultant. I'm a troubleshooter, he said, born and raised in Long Island. In 1994, he founded and registered his architectural firm and affiliates, RH Consultants and Associates. Why am I making a big deal about he's a New York guy? Because what you're going to find is an interesting, he's been here. He was born and raised, in Long Island. He works, or he lived in Long Island when he was arrested. He worked in Manhattan. He's been in New Jersey, all over that area, and his whole life since childhood. So why does he own timeshares in Vegas? Well, that's not a big net mystery, I guess. I mean, a lot of people go to Vegas and get talked into a timeshare. Is he the kind of guy that can get talked into a timeshare? Not sure about that. Why does he have hunting licenses in Alaska? Why does he have property in South Carolina? Why does this East Coast guy who was born and raised in Long Island have associations in all these other states? And that's maybe just the tip of the iceberg. So we're going to talk about where he's been. But while home repairs lingered, Heuermann splurged in other ways. Investigators found a cache of weapons in his home, more than 200 guns, some protected by a custom vault. Authorities said he had gun permits, allowing him to possess 92 firearms. Guns were Heuermann's passion, DeVillers said. And he talked about guns often. Why is that important? Because Rex Heuermann, we're going to find out, had hunting. He was in hunting groups, hunting clubs, gun clubs, and a hunting license in at least Alaska. So his obsession with guns and hunting clubs may have brought him into connection with certain types of people. Again, in the Long Island serial killer case, you will find that Rex Heuermann seemed to have friends in law enforcement. And it has come out that maybe some of those law enforcement actually had gun memberships in the same clubs that Rex Heuermann had. Did he meet cops at gun clubs and stuff like that? Did he go hunting with cops? Now, none of that is to say that police officers were covering for Rex Heuermann. But when you look into things like Gone Girls on Netflix, which is a 3-part documentary, and you get to episode 2, you will find chief of police who covered, it looks like covered for Rex Heuermann, dismantled the FBI task force looking into the serial killer, said he didn't want any help with that. He himself had allegations of using prostitutes, doing drugs with prostitutes, was arrested himself. Chief of police was arrested himself for unsavory behavior towards an inmate in his jail cell, even threatening to kill him and his mother. This inmate, he goes to jail for that. The district attorney went to jail for things related to it. There's corruption in Suffolk County, including allegations that the chief of police, James Burks, knew Rex Heuermann, partied with Rex Heuermann. There's an affidavit. We've had Attorney John Ray on our show talk about an affidavit that he received that said a woman actually was at a party with James Burke, the chief of police, and Rex Heuermann. And when she was young and a runaway, and that she had met him before, and she was stunned when she saw him on TV. So yes, there are connections with Rex Heuermann and law enforcement that may get pretty sketchy, including Peter Hackett. Like I told you, we talked about Peter Hackett. I know this is going really fast. If you follow the case, you're keeping up to speed. If you're not following the case, you're like, what the fuck is DA talking about? Watch all my videos on the Long Island serial killer case to get brought up to speed. Peter Hackett had involvement with police department, and that night that Shannon Gilbert went missing in 2010, he said, hey, he told her mother, hey, your daughter came to my house that night that she ended up being murdered. She came to my house that night. I treated her medically and I sent her on her way. I don't know what happened to her. And then later on, he's denied any involvement of ever seeing Shannon Gilbert that night that she went missing. And then she ended up dead, basically right out the back door of his property. If you don't know about that shit, that's still coming to a head. What happened that night? John Ray, the attorney John Ray, who's been on our show before, he's going after some of the lies, it looks like, that Peter Hackett told, Dr. Peter Hackett. I think it's Dr. Charles Peter Hackett. So he goes by Charles Hackett or Peter Hackett or multiple names. It gets confusing, but it's the same guy. Yeah, I talk fast. I get it. I'm trying to slow down. All right, so let's go. Let's hit this. This is in red because it's a slightly different off-topic thing, and then there's yellow again. So let's hit the yellow and I'll come back to the red because the red's a little off-topic. Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup, who at one point was Asa Heuermann, but then changed her name back to Asa Ellerup, I believe. Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup, filed for divorce on Wednesday, police say, and they do not believe the wife and children were aware of Heuermann's alleged crimes. Now, here's part of the mainstream narrative shaping I want to make sure you're clear about. Asa Ellerup divorcing her husband after he was arrested for the Gilgo 4 is designed and reported so that everyone in America will be like, look, even his wife knows he's guilty. As soon as he's accused of being the killer, she divorces his ass because she knows he's probably the killer and she wants nothing to do with him. That is not, when you dig into the details, and I always say one of the phrases on my show is the devil's in the details. That is not, I believe, why Asa Ellerup divorced Rex Heuermann. Not because she was convinced he was the killer. In fact, she repeatedly said that she didn't think he was the killer, that she refuses to believe that he's the killer, and that he is in some ways her hero. And so Asa Ellerup didn't turn her back on her husband, as mainstream media would like you to say, by pointing out, hey, she divorced him. What was the divorce about? It was about a protection of property and assets. The house, for example, by having a divorce and doing things the way they did, it protected her assets. She was poor. He was the main breadwinner of that family. Without his income, without his insurance, and with family members with medical conditions, they were in deep shit, Asa Ellerup and her daughter and her son. And so one could argue that the reason why she divorced had more to do with protection of assets, but it's a great story for the media to spin. Look, even his own family turns against him. This is the same shit we see James Holmes saying his mother knew he was the killer, and that's not what she said in 2012. Or Luigi Mangioni's mother supposedly saying, oh, I can see my son doing that kind of thing in the shooting of the Manhattan shooting of Brian Thompson, where allegedly Luigi Mangioni's own mother said, yeah, I think my son probably did that. That's the kind of thing I can see him doing. No, she didn't fucking say that. No, she didn't. But mainstream media loves to report that the families turned on him, just like they're also doing in Idaho 4, where Brian Koberger's mother supposedly and sister were going to testify for the prosecution, making everyone in America feel that his own family knew he was guilty. They wrote a book, Howard Bloom, When the Night Comes Falling. Oh, yeah, his father was very, very concerned that when they got pulled over on the way back to Pennsylvania from Pullman, Washington, he knew that something was wrong and his son probably was involved with it. All of that shit turns out, after you do close examination, not at all to be true. But mainstream media loves to tell you that your own family has turned against you, so that all of America says, well, yeah, if the people closest to him and know the best have turned on him, then he must be the killer. Same thing on this huge, long-winded rant about why Asa Ellerup's divorced her husband had to do with protection of assets and not that she turned her back on him. Just listen to what she says. It's a different story. Ellerup, who grew up in Farmingdale, and Heuermann have been married for 27 years, according to documents, and neighbors described her as brusque. In addition to the Massapequa home, property records show Heuermann owns 23 acres in Chester, South Carolina. Now, this is interesting. His brother and him own acreage and homes in Chester, South Carolina. Why? You're a East Coast guy. Why do you own 23 acres in South Carolina? We'll get back to that in a minute. Also, by the way, that property, I believe, was sold out of Rex Heuermann's name, maybe, I can't remember, for $1 to his brother or something like that. Again, it was an asset protection thing. If media can spin it in some way to make it look like his family turned against him, that's exactly what they'll do. It's all about asset protection, in my opinion. But again, media will spin it as the family's all turning on him. We'll set that aside for a minute. The details, let's go back to this. In addition to the Massapequa home, property records show Heuermann owns 23 acres in Chester, South Carolina, which is also the home of his younger brother, Craig Heuermann, 57. In 1988, by the way, and it should have been pink because this is not related to the story of where he is. But in 1988, Craig Heuermann was driving drunk and struck and killed a city housing authority police captain in Southern State Parkway, just west of Hicksville Road. Craig Heuermann, who was charged with drunken driving, served time in prison for criminally negligent homicide. Yeah, Rex Heuermann's own brother killed a police captain. That's fucking weird. But drunk driving accident, he served some time. This here is a picture, by the way. This is a picture of a gated property in South Carolina that Rex Heuermann and his brother own on 23 acres. One could ask, if you were a think tank kind of person, why do you want 23 acres? Now, again, we pointed out that Rex Heuermann collects guns and he's an avid hunter. Is 23 acres just simply his own private hunting reserve? Or is there more nefarious retirement benefits to owning a lot of property with a bunch of woods around there? I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but if you're think tanking, you have to ask yourself, why does a East Coast, born and raised East Coast, Massapequa, New York, Long Island, New York guy buy a big, huge part of property in South Carolina, other than maybe it's just really dirt cheap. But anyways, Craig Heuermann's property in Chester across the street from his brother. So Craig Heuermann's property in Chester across the street from his brother's features a tall wooden gate with signs saying "Keep out, no warrant, no entry." Both signs feature silhouettes of a skull and crossbone. If we were to blow this up really big, all right, you would see right there the no entry and a little skull and bones. Why was that important? I don't know. They just want to show that it's creepy that Rex Heuermann literally is threatening to kill people if they come onto his property. If you don't have a warrant, you don't belong on the property. And again, when you're talking about a serial killer, the media loves to spin out, hey, skull and bones are on that sign. See how creepy that is? And it is kind of like, right? Meanwhile, Internal Revenue Service liens have piled up over the years against Heuermann and his wife. They owed a total of about $500,000 in taxes from 2005 to 2021. According to Suffolk County tax records, they paid off about $250,000 of that, or $215,000. According to tax records, they still owe about $81,500 in personal income taxes to New York State. Heuermann remains incarcerated at Riverhead Correctional Facility without bail. By the way, I've written many letters to Rex Heuermann at the Riverhead Correctional Facility. Guess what? He doesn't want to talk to me. What a surprise. But anyways, I kind of stopped writing him. I used to write letters every single week to all the inmates. I still have on the members only section of this channel all my letters to Brian Koberger in the Idaho 4 case, Rex Heuermann, Luigi Mangione, Tyler Robinson. I used to write letters every single week to the all the people who are in the cases I follow, trying to get them to open up a dialogue, but that never shook out. And so it became an exercise in futility and we stopped it. But I think there was a pink section I missed here. So this is what I want to go back. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name because I haven't heard it, I guess, pronounced. De Villiers recalled that Heuermann at one point developed the habit of looking over his 6-foot fence into his yard to where his wife was occasionally sunbathing. So this was a neighbor. And it was like, it has nothing to do with where's Rex Heuermann. It was one of those hit pieces things I just couldn't resist. They love hit pieces. So a neighbor says, Rex Heuermann used to peek his head over their 6-foot fall because Rex Heuermann is a very, very tall human being, like 6'4", right? So he would peer over their 6-foot thing and spy on this guy's wife when she was out in the backyard sunbathing. And of course, that sounds creepy. And I'm not saying it's not. Get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it is not creepy to go spy on your neighbor's wife while she's sunbathing. I'm not saying that's not creepy. What I'm saying is that somebody said something that was like, oh my God, we've got to put that in print. It makes him look guilty. So anyways, there's a little thing about a standoff where he basically tells him to quit peeping on his wife. This guy's 5'6" and 165 pounds. Heuermann's 6'4" and 240 pounds. So brave guy to scare off Rex Heuermann, who peeping on his wife when he's out sunbathing. Just an aside, has nothing to do with where's Heuermann. But we're going to go back to this now. Las Vegas review. So remember, I told you that he owned 2 properties in Las Vegas. We're going to talk about the 2 properties in Las Vegas. We're going to talk about the hunting license in Alaska. We're going to talk a little bit about that South Carolina property maybe, and then we're going to be out. But I just kind of wanted to give you this food for thought, overarching questions in my head. So, suspect in Gilgo Beach murders owns timeshare in Las Vegas. Gilgo Beach murder suspect Rex Heuermann owns a timeshare property in Las Vegas and previously owned and sold another, according to Clark County Public Records. Now, this is where it gets weird to me. Rex Heuermann and his wife, Asa Ellerup, seem to have bought 2 timeshares within 1 year of each other in Las Vegas. And I thought that was really weird. One of those timeshares is on the strip and one of those is off the strip. I thought that was super weird. So a think tank kind of person starts to ask these questions. Why would you buy 2 timeshares within a year of each other in the same exact place? I mean, it's not like you're even buying a timeshare in one place and another place so that you have multiple places to go. You're literally, and they're kind of only miles apart. So why buy 2 timeshares in the same city? My first question was, as a think tank kind of person, were both timeshares in both of their names? In other words, did Rex buy one timeshare with him and his wife and then buy another one just himself outside of her name somewhere else? And maybe Asa didn't even know that her husband had a second timeshare in Las Vegas. And wouldn't that be interesting if the guy really was a serial killer and really was going to Vegas and did kill people when he was in Vegas? Would he want an alternative location to take somebody that his wife didn't even know about, another timeshare? It looks to me, at least at the time of the sale, that Asa Ellerup was on both sales. So at some point she was aware of both timeshares. Is it proof that she knew about the purchase beforehand? I don't know. But by the way, for those of you who haven't been watching this channel yet, there is allegations. No, there is suggestions. That's not an allegation. There are suggestions. There are questions by attorney John Ray, for example, that Asa Ellerup may have known what her husband was up to, may have actually participated in some of the murders. That is a question people like myself and attorney John Ray ask in this case? How much did Asa Ellerup really know about her husband's activities? Is she really completely ignorant that her husband may have been a serial killer for decades? Or did she know about it damn well, maybe helped cover it up, or maybe even participated? So when you're talking about the two of them owning two timeshares in Vegas, one on the strip and one off the strip, you have to ask, was it that Asa didn't know about one of them, or did she know about them? And that's another question you need to ask. So just keep all that in your mind when you're think tanking. Let me know what you think. How weird would it be? You tell me. Well, how weird is it that somebody would buy two timeshares in the same exact city within miles of each other, one on the strip and one off the strip? Now, Heuermann, 59, was charged last week in the deaths of 3 of the 11 women whose remains were discovered buried on a remote beach highway in 2010 to 2011 on Long Beach, New York. In an emailed statement Tuesday, the Las Vegas police said that they're aware of Heuermann's connection to the city of Las Vegas. We are currently reviewing our unsolved cases to see if he has any involvement, the police said in a statement. The case has attracted national attention as Heuermann was charged with an extensive years-long multi-agency investigation. According to public records, Heuermann, an architect, owns a two-bedroom timeshare property at Club des Soleils, located at 5499 West Tropicana Avenue, which shares as both a timeshare and a hotel, and is located about 3 miles west of the strip. He bought the property in 2005 for about $16,000 with his wife, Asa Ellerup. So that's one of the two timeshares that he owns. He's even got his address. And as of 2023, he still owned that. According to Club des Soleils' website, the timeshare property is a taste of lavish European lifestyle in the middle of Las Vegas. Heuermann also previously owned a timeshare, and here's the other one. He also previously owned a timeshare at 265 East Herman Avenue, which is now known as Club Wyndham Grand Desert, and is just east of the strip. Heuermann bought the property in 2004 for $51,000 and sold it in 2013 for the same amount, property records show. Now, what kind of goes overlooked in here is that one property of timeshare was bought in 2004 and the other one was bought in 2005, and he had it for 9 years. So there's at least an 8-year overlap where Rex Heuermann owned two timeshares in the same city of Las Vegas within miles of each other, one on the strip, one off the strip. So is it interesting? Why did Rex Heuermann and Asa Ellerup have two timeshares in the same city within miles of each other for 8 years? So then you start to ask yourself, what was going on there? Now, is there reasons for it? Sure, there's some people have speculated it's investment properties. They're going to just sell it off, whatever the case may be. There may be reasons, but it's things that make you go, All right. Got about 3 more articles. It won't take too much longer. This is from Las Vegas TV, ABC News in Las Vegas. Missing and presumed murdered. Las Vegas cold case examined for possible tie to the accused serial killer. Rex Heuermann's arrest offers new hope to the mother of Jesse Foster, who went missing from Las Vegas in 2006. Remember, these properties that he owned, the two timeshares he owned was 2004 and 2005, and this woman goes missing in 2006. So it's in the wheelhouse of when he had properties in Vegas. The 21-year-old Canadian woman disappeared after her mom says that she was sexually trafficked throughout New York and New Jersey. Well, that's interesting since Rex Heuermann is from New York and New Jersey area and has all kinds of ties over there. Then ultimately she was lured to Las Vegas, where she was last seen alive following several prostitution arrests. So what they're trying to paint the idea is maybe, again, without saying it, this is what media does. They're trying to say without saying it is that maybe this woman met Rex Heuermann in New York and he lured her to Vegas where he had timeshare properties and he killed her in Vegas. Now, 17 years later, the bombshell arrest of suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann has brought her daughter's cold case back into the focus as police agencies in 3 states hunt for more possible victims. Foster is one of 5 escorts in the Las Vegas area between the ages of 18 and 25 who all shared the same fate, discovered either dead or missing between 2003 and 2006 under similarly suspicious circumstances. 4 of them were dumped off remote highways. Several were wrapped in cloth, which is why detectives have long suspected they could have been killed by the same person. Again, the Gilgo 4 bodies in New York on Long Island, on Gilgo Beach, those Gilgo murders were dumped in burlap bags, wrapped in bags, and dumped on a narrow stretch of highway on Gilgo Beach. And so they're saying, hey, look, these women also were found dumped in remote roadways in cloth, wrapped in cloth. Is this the same MO as that killer? Reportedly, records place Rex Heuermann in Las Vegas area through the ownership of 2 timeshares dating back to 2004. Now, keep in mind, this stated that the killings that they're looking into were from 2003 to 2006. Rex Heuermann bought the first timeshare in 2004, so this 2003 date may be outside the window. That doesn't mean that he wasn't in the area and then decided, hey, this is kind of cool. I'm going to stay down here. This is convenient. I'll buy some timeshares and keep doing that shit. Doesn't mean that that wasn't the case. It's just a think tank. My brain works constantly on the, like, my wife's like, my God, it must be scary to live in your head. I never stop. Anyways, property records place Heuermann through the ownership of those things dating in 2004. We already read that. We also received several of the Las Vegas victims' autopsy reports through the Freedom of Information Act request and compared them to the records we obtained for Gilgo Beach victims. And they show that Victoria Carmen's death was the result of strangulation, just like the Gilgo 4. So again, this reporter had dug into autopsy reports of the victims that they're talking about in Vegas, and it showed similarities. They were strangled and dumped in cloth. So it looks like the Gilgo Beach killer. What's more, Harris's dismembered body was found in Springfield, Illinois, another location. Where's Rex Heuermann? Springfield, Illinois now enters the equation in a weird way. What's more is Harris's dismembered body was found in Springfield, Illinois, a location mentioned on page 17 of Rex Heuermann's bail application, which states the alleged serial killer set up a Tinder account using the email Springfield Man. So they're saying this woman was found, her chopped up body was found in Springfield, Illinois. Rex Heuermann had a Springfield Man Tinder account for meeting women. Is he the Springfield, Illinois killer? So now we've got Rex Heuermann in New York, New Jersey, South Carolina, Las Vegas, Alaska, and the list keeps going, and Springfield, Illinois. As for Foster's mother, she sees striking similarities between Harris, her daughter, and the other escorts that were slain on Long Island. I think she looks quite a lot like Megan Waterman, Grant said, the beautiful blonde. So Rex Heuermann's type, it seemed to be, or the Long Island serial killer's type seems to be sex workers that are small, petite, young, 20s and whatever. And it's an MO. This is what people look for a lot of times in serial killers. And so there seems to be a pattern, and this woman fits the pattern in Vegas. 13 Investigates, which is the channel, TV channel, has also recently connected with the family of a fourth Las Vegas victim, a young escort who was murdered and dismembered in 2003. So again, that one may be outside of when he had the timeshares, but still could be maybe one of his, who knows. The cold case of Jody Marie Brewer is one being reopened for DNA testing to check for possible ties to Rex Heuermann. So I think that's the gist of that article. And it's just kind of, we're tracking stories that may be related to Rex Heuermann and his locations around the country. Now we're looking into People, famous People magazine. Long Island serial killer suspect owned a timeshare in Vegas where police are looking for unsolved murders. It's much the same information. Hopefully I did highlight a few things that are a little additional. He had a timeshare in Las Vegas, the police commissioner tells People, and we're working with authorities out there to take a closer look at what needed to be recovered, or if there's anything that should be recovered and seized that could help out with this investigation as well. A spokesman for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department confirmed to CNN that police in Las Vegas are sifting through their roster of unsolved cases for any sign that Heuermann may have been involved. Now, where I'm going with that is a lot of times what's going to happen is everybody's going to reopen their cold cases, any place that Rex Heuermann's been, and see if they can find something that matches Rex Heuermann to close cold cases. It'd be nice for them to close a bunch of cold cases. But will they get it right, or will they take the easy route out and say, look, we've got a pretty good serial killer that we can close old cold cases with? I don't know. Just be careful you get it right. Because again, if you close a cold case by saying it was Rex Heuermann and it wasn't, then the real killer has walked free. So that's the thing I'm trying to point out in this channel, is make sure if it's Rex's, it really is Rex's and not somebody else that you're now letting go free because you stopped investigating because you tied it to somebody that didn't actually do it. That's why we're big on the whole, make sure they're Rex's. Not because we're trying to get Rex off on some of his murders, but because we want to make sure that Rex Heuermann actually did murder them, because if he didn't, then somebody else walks free. Officials say Heuermann also has ties to Amityville. So I think that might be Amityville, New York, I don't know why it came in here in the middle of this thing, and South Carolina. Meanwhile, Harrison says authorities have also been looking into similar unsolved murders in Atlantic City, New Jersey, that are possibly connected to the killings on Long Island. And yes, I think there was 4 bodies dumped in Atlantic City, New Jersey, in a narrow stretch of area, much like the Gilgo 4 in New York. And so they're thinking that's the same killer. And guess what? They supposedly have links that Heuermann was in Atlantic City, maybe during the times that those people died. So it seems, again, Rex Heuermann may be an extremely prolific serial killer who has been killing across the entire United States, even though he's an East Coast guy, but he travels a lot, apparently. So one has to ask, is that what's happening? How many bodies will they be attributed to Rex Heuermann, or are they going to close cold cases or be incentivized to when it wasn't his? Asa Ellerup, Heuermann's wife, has since filed for divorce. Again, they like to point out that she filed for divorce, when I think if you look at other articles I've written, there's a financial incentive, and she still pretty much standing by her husband and hasn't turned her back on him like mainstream media wants to imply by she divorced his ass. Yeah, but maybe that doesn't tell the whole story. Now we're going to look at Newsweek, and we've got one more article after this, and we'll wrap up. Who is Rex Heuermann, Gilgo Beach serial killer suspected arrest? The murders were particularly gruesome, with several of the bodies being linked to dismembered body parts that were previously discovered on Long Island since 2010. A report by data analytics company LexisNexis, acquired by Newsweek, showed that Heuermann held a hunting license which was issued in Alaska on May 17th, 2010, the same month that Gilbert went missing. The report also revealed that Heuermann has a daughter, Victoria, who's 26 years old. So why is this interesting? It's just another piece of where the hell is Rex Heuermann? Why you can't get further away? I mean, maybe Florida, maybe the tip of Florida, you could get further away from Alaska, and that's about it. You can't get much further away than Massapequa, New York, and Alaska. Like, it's clear across the United States and through another country to get to Alaska. So how things that make me go, how does Rex Heuermann have a hunting license in Alaska? Why is he traveling to Alaska? Now, are there any missing bodies in Alaska? No known missing bodies that they're looking for in Alaska that we know of, but it's interesting. And again, why I bring it up in particular is the hunting license gun club connection. There's a lot of times gun clubs hide who their owners are, their members are, behind, privacy rules or whatever. But it would be sure interesting to see how many gun clubs or hunting clubs Rex Heuermann belongs to across the country. Because, well, I'm super interested, but we'll leave it at that for now. And then the last article I'll cover is from CBS News. None of these were really presented in a great order, other than I tried my best to, I tried my best to line them up, but there's things that go all over the place. Gilgo Beach suspect Rex Heuermann linked to Suffolk County gun club near the victim's remains, where the remains were found. Pictures of a younger Rex Heuermann are providing new evidence that the accused Gilgo Beach serial killer was familiar with the remote part of Suffolk County where the victim's remains were dumped. CBS New York on Wednesday spoke with a gun club member who remembers the hulking Heuermann competing in a shooting event. The public, or shooting events, plural. The public has only seen him facing charges in the murders of 6 women, but shooting instructor Ira Rudderman remembers Heuermann as an affable, high-powered gun enthusiast who regularly competed and volunteered as a coach at the Peconic River Sportsman Club. Yeah, and I probably mispronounced that as well. You don't miss him in a room. So when it came up on the news, I'm like, oh, he's been at some of our events, Rudderman said. Months ago, police asked for gun club records as they returned to the Manorville woods to re-examine the murders of Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack. Gun club records show that Heuermann took part in public shooting competitions and courses in early 2000s in Manorville at Peconic River Sportsman Club. So where's that going? Again, for all of the whole reason for this entire episode is there's a part of me that thinks that it'll be curious to track Rex Heuermann's gun club memberships, hunting licenses, and properties that he owns apparently all across the United States. There is potentially a lot of leads that come out of those. And I'll leave it at that. What those leads are and what I'm looking into and what I'm thinking about and why I'm thinking about it, that's going to have to be for later episodes. I hope you're intrigued. If you are, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the channel. More stuff will come out as the trial moves ahead. Even though the trial is going to focus on only those 4 bodies attributed to Rex Heuermann, there's reasons to believe that other stuff's going to shake out. Some pretty surprising stuff. Slaughtering all my words. There seems to be a lot of stuff that will shake out. So we'll pull some threads. I think you're going to be interested. Follow the case if you're intrigued already. It's going to get better. Have a great one. Talk to you later.